Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Draft FPL and welcome back to a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Before we get stuck into the pick, quick announcement, I am going to be back this week with one of my deadline live streams, so make sure you set a reminder, set your calendar. It's going to be about an hour and a half before the game week deadline for game week 3, so Friday about 5 PM UK time. About an hour and a half before the deadline. We're going to be looking at lineup decisions, last minute free agents. Hopefully might get some lineup leaks circulating for that Chelsea-Luton game Friday night, because I feel like that could be an important one if you can pick up a Chelsea player for that. So make sure you set your reminders, tune into that. We'll go through people's teams from the chat, we'll have a look at my teams, and we'll get ready for the game week 3 deadline. Okay, let's get cracking with my game week 3 waiver picks. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's go. First up, repeat pick of last week. I told you I was going to do it. Aaron Hickey, he returned for us last week, still available in 89% of draft leagues. That data is courtesy, as always, of draftfc.co.uk, link in the description. Aaron Hickey, good player, good attacking numbers, good defence. They've got great fixtures. Palace at home, Bournemouth at home, Everton at home, 3 of the next 4. What more could you possibly ask for of a waiver pick? He is in a couple of my teams and he'll be hopefully in a couple more after the deadline. Also, just a quick shout out to my waiver picks last week. Obviously, Hickey returned at, I think, 3 double-digit hauls from the picks. So if you're not following the advice, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Come on. When you're looking at the clean sheets this week, there are a few teams that absolutely stand out. City, Arsenal, United, and the other one is Chelsea. And there aren't that many defenders from these teams available on the waivers. One player that is potentially available is Manuel Gusto. Replacement for Reece James at right back. Reece is going to be out a few more weeks with his injured hamstring, so hopefully we can ride Gusto for at least game week 3 and 4. Luton at home, Forest at home. It's probably the best double header fixtures you could hope for in terms of clean sheets. Still available in 54% of draft leagues. I think that news came a little bit too late for some leagues, so he did go under the radar a little bit, but I think he's an absolutely no-brainer pickup for these next 2. He's got a decent amount of attacking potential. The clean sheet chance is through the roof, and I just think he's a no-brainer pick. Next up, potentially a little bit more of a long-term play. As I said, the clean sheet percentages fall off massively once you're outside of those top teams. Udogie for Spurs has been playing in this kind of inverted left-back role. Still available in 46% of draft leagues. And when you're looking at these next 3, Bournemouth away, Burnley away, Sheffield United at home, 3 really strong fixtures that he could do well in. I don't think Spurs are going to keep loads of clean sheets this season, to be honest, despite just keeping one against United, but they could have easily conceded a couple in that game. But I do think Udogie is going to have a decent amount of attacking threat. He is playing kind of an inside role, so it's not the traditional left back attacking threat with crosses and balls into the box, but more those kind of interior passes into the front men, which is just as fruitful in terms of FPL returns. So I think he's a really solid pick. Next up, we have Ashley Young, available in 93% of leagues. Everton have been unlucky in game week 1, shambolic in game week 2. So let's see what we get in game week 3. Wolves at home. Everton Wolves is probably the most boring fixture I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe Everton Sheffield United, which is actually in game week 4. So it's 2 decent chances at a clean sheet back to back for Everton here. And Ashley Young is on a lot of the set pieces. He's putting the ball in the box a decent amount as well, and I think he's probably my favourite pick other than Tarkowski from this Everton defence. I don't think he's amazing, but if you're desperate for a defender, then you know the fixtures are a little bit tough this week in terms of outside of the top teams, so he is someone I would be looking at. On to midfielders then, and we're going back in on Chelsea. As I said earlier, hopefully we'll get a little bit of team sheet news before the Friday night deadline, and hopefully that news will be that Conor Gallagher starts in central midfield. I was quite impressed with him against West Ham, to be honest. I thought he was probably Chelsea's best player on the day. Enzo, in open play was fantastic. Obviously he missed the penalty, which doesn't help. I think Gallagher had a decent game. He got a few shots off, and I think with Caicedo starting, if it's going to be a 4-3-3 with Enzo and Gallagher ahead of Caicedo, I think that could do quite well for Gallagher. We've seen him breaking into the box in the past, especially when he was at Palace, and be very successful at it. So maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of that. Luton at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth away in the next three is just unbelievably good. And if he's going to be starting, then he is an absolutely fantastic pick for the next three. Available in 86% of leagues, so you've got a decent chance at getting hold of him. And I think he is my favourite pick of the week. It definitely helps that hopefully we get a bit of team sheet news because it is the first game of the week on that Friday night. We may well have the information we need, because if he's not starting, you can easily just drop him before the deadline. Next up, Douglas Luiz, someone that in the past I've been, in my head he's been almost a good pick, like not quite attacking enough, picks up a couple too many yellow cards, but he does have all the set pieces. He is quite creative, and he's got a real knack of scoring some absolute worldies, but wasn't quite attacking it enough to be a good pick in my opinion. But as we learned at the weekend, he is now on penalties as well, and that is more than enough to tip him over the edge into the realm of a good FPL pick. Available in 62% of leagues. We've got mixed fixtures for Villa, but game week 3 and game week 5 look pretty strong. Burnley away, Palace at home. The reason I like him specifically for this week, Burnley away, is that Burnley have a real problem in defending set pieces. So I think Douglas Luiz, the fact that he takes all of them, that is something he can definitely profit on. So I really like him for this week. And going forward, I think he's just a pretty solid pick that's going to tick over with points. Next up, we have Pape Sarr of Spurs. Available in roughly 95% of leagues. I suspect it's actually close to 100% because I've never seen him in anyone's draft team, to be honest. Of all the teams I've been sent, I've never seen his name. But I don't have the exact data because for some reason on Draft FC he just wasn't on the site. So maybe they weren't expecting him to be a good option either. Me neither. So looking at the next three fixtures, as I said earlier, Bournemouth away, Burnley away, Sheffield at home. If he starts in that 3-8 role in this attacking Postecoglou system, he's going to be a fantastic pick. And I don't say that lightly. Like, he is the kind of pick that you pick up on a free in game week 3 and you have him until game week 38, and he's finished the season with 12 goals and 8 assists and 150 plus points. This is the kind of pick that really can make a massive difference. I mean, he may not hold down the starting role, he may lose it, in which case he's an easy drop, but he is so attacking. He had so many shots against United. I was really impressed with how he played, and this system really encourages those two attacking central midfielders to get into the box. And James Maddison is the other one, and he's going to be floating around the edge a little bit more, trying to play passes in and, take pop shots off the edge. But Sarr is the one that's going to be bursting right into the box and getting on the end of things. So I think he's just a really, really good pick. He might not start, but I think he played well enough. He scored. I think he's definitely going to start the Bournemouth game. And if he does, there's no reason he can't keep the spot in the team going forward. Next up, we have Dan Juma. If you are backing Everton to do well against Wolves at home, I mean, Wolves are a bit of a shambles, so it's kind of not a bad fixture to target. Then Dan Juma's likely going to be playing up front, I think. DCL came off with that sort of facial injury. It kind of looked like he had maybe a broken eye socket or something like that. I haven't actually got all the details on it yet. But we'll know after the press conferences how he is doing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him out this week. So unlucky. for Dominic CalvertLewin. But if that's the case, Dan Juma may well be starting up front. They've really tried with Mope, but he just cannot get the ball in the back of the net, and I think it's time to change tact with that. And if you can get the Everton striker for Wolves at home, Sheffield United away, I don't think that's a bad shout at all. On to forwards, and I've got a pair of Burnley forwards for you this week. Available in 77% of leagues. First up is Amdouni. I think he looks like a talent, and I think Burnley have gone completely under the radar because obviously they played City in game week 1, which, you know, what can you really find out from a team against City? But they actually held their own pretty well in that game, I thought, and they did show some attacking flair that they're going to have this season. Game week 2 they blanked, so that's a real shame because we didn't even get to see them against a normal team. So I'm looking forward to having a look at Burnley this weekend. Villa at home I think is quite a nice fixture for them because Villa play such a high line, and Burnley, the way Burnley attack, I think they're going to cut through that quite well. So I'm looking at the pacey forwards, and Amdouni is the one I've certainly got my eye on. I think he's going to be a bit of a talent for Burnley this season. Available in 77% of leagues. I think he's well worth a pick-up if you've got the likes of Jimenez or Balogun or Mitrovic or Tony, who, you know, certainly won't be playing this weekend. And the other one is Lyle Foster, also of Burnley. Again, played pretty well in that City game, and now they've actually got some games. They're not easy fixtures by any means. Villa at home, Tottenham at home in 3 and 4, and United at home in 6 are all pretty tough. But again, all 3 of those teams have defensive issues, so wouldn't be surprised to see Burnley score a few goals in that run. And game week 5's Forest away. That should be a decent fixture for them as well. I think Burnley are a good side, and they're going to do quite well this year. So I think if you can back these 2 forwards and they keep their place in the side, then you could do quite well out of it. Okay then, that wraps up my Draft FPL waiver picks for game week 3. As I said earlier, make sure you set your reminders for the live stream. If you're interested in even more content, then check out the Patreon link down below. Thank you all for watching. Like the video if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you're new.